Others love everyone and welcome to our reading of John chapter 19. John chapter 19. Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe and said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again, and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate saith unto them, Behold, the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him, and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee? Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin. And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth, and sat down in the judgment seat, in a place that is called the Pavement, but in Hebrew, Gabbatha. And it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, Behold, your king. But they cried out, Away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king, but Caesar. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Jesus, and led him away. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of the skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, one on either side, and Jesus in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title, and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus, King Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, and Greek, and Latin. Then said the chief priest of the Jews to Pilate, Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I've written, I've written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments, and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said, therefore, among themselves, Let us not rend it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled which saith, They parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother, and the disciple standing by whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then saith he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, said, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with the vinegar, and put it upon hyssop, and put it to his mouth. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was an high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first, and of the other which was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus, and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers, with a spear, pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true, and he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. And again another scripture saith, They shall look upon him whom they pierced. And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him leave. He came, therefore, and took the body of Jesus. And there came also Nicodemus, which at first came to Jesus by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pound weight. Then took they the body of Jesus, and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. Then laid they Jesus therefore, because of the Jews' preparation day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand. All right, let's do a review. All right, in John chapter 19, of course, we're picking up where the Jews have brought Jesus to Pilate, questioning him, and they're determined to have him killed. So Pilate takes Jesus, scourges him. The soldiers make a crown of thorns, put it on his head, put on a purple robe. They're mocking him, calling him king of the Jews, slapping him around. And then Pilate takes him back out to the Jews and says, Behold, I bring forth to you that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Again, he says, I don't find any fault in this guy. So Jesus comes out wearing the crown of thorns and a purple robe, and Pilate says to them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore, and the officers saw him, they cry out, Crucify him, crucify him. They're determined to have him killed. Pilate says to them, You crucify him. I don't find any fault in him. So the Jews say to Pilate, the Hebrews say, we have a law, and by our law, he needs to die because he made himself the Son of God. In other words, he's blaspheming. By our law, blasphemy is death. Well, when Pilate heard that, he was even more afraid. He was already a little afraid. But he's even more afraid. He's like, what, this dude's saying he's the Son of God? So he goes back into the judgment hall, takes Jesus back in, and he says, Whence art thou? Or, where are you from? Who are you? Where are you from? But Jesus didn't answer him. So Pilate says to him, Aren't you going to speak to me? Don't you know that I have the power to kill you or to let you go? Do I have the power to crucify you or the power to release you? So Jesus answers and says, You couldn't have any power at all against me unless the Father gives you that power. But the one that delivered me to you, they have the greater sin. In other words, You're only doing what Father's allowing you to do. The ones who are bringing me to you to kill me, they're the ones that are going to have a greater sin than you have. And from thenceforth, Pilate sought to release him. He really wanted to let him go. He's like, I don't even want no parts of this. I want to let him go. I don't find anything wrong with him. I don't want any parts of this. But the Jews cried out saying, if you let him go, well, then you're not a friend of Caesar's. Because this dude said he's a king. And whoever says he's a king, whoever makes himself a king, is speaking against Caesar. So Pilate heard that and he's like, So he brought Jesus forth, sat down in the judgment seat in a place that's called the pavement, or in Hebrew, Gabbatha. So he's like, well, they got me. If I don't kill him, Caesar's going to find out I didn't kill him. They're going to say he made himself a king. I didn't kill him for saying he was a king when Caesar's the only king. They pretty much had him in a hard spot. If he didn't kill him, it looks like he's rejecting Caesar as king. So he pretty much is going to have to kill him. They've cornered him. So he takes him back out to the judgment seat. Or he takes him back out, he sits down in the judgment seat, and he pronounces judgment. And it's also the preparation of the Passover, about the 6th hour. And he says to the Jews, behold, your king. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. So again, he brings him out, ready to pass judgment. He said, look, behold your king. And again they cry out, take him away, kill him. Pilate says to them, shall I crucify your king? In other words, shall I kill your king? Shall I kill this man who claims to be your king? The chief priests answered, we have no king but Caesar. Very important to notice there. They have now denied not only Jesus, the Son of God, but their God themselves. Because they have just said they have no king but Caesar. In other words, Caesar is the one they obey and listen to. Talk about blasphemy. Okay, then we get to the crucifixion. Of course, we know it takes place in Golgotha. He carries his cross through the streets to the place of the skull, or in Hebrew, Golgotha. They crucify him with a man on each side. So 3 of them all together crucified, Jesus in the middle. And Pilate made a sign and put it on the cross above Jesus. It says, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Now, many of the Jews and the Israelites read that because where they crucified people was right near the city, basically out in the garbage dump where they hauled the trash. And it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, so everyone who passed by could read it, whether they spoke Hebrew or Greek or Latin. They'd be able to read what the sign said. So the chief priest went to Pilate and said, wait a minute, don't write the King of the Jews. Change it so it says that he said he's the King of the Jews. Well, Pilate's pretty well done with him now. He's already not happy that they've twisted his arm into killing someone who he thinks is innocent. Now they want him to change what he wrote. He's like, look, what I wrote. It's done. Deal with it. Done with you. I ain't changing nothing. What I wrote. End of story. Now the soldiers, once they crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and they made 4 different parts. So obviously there was 4 soldiers there crucifying Jesus at the time. So they made 4 pals. They each took a section, each took part of the clothing. But when they got to his coat, they realized his coat was woven from the top throughout. It had no seams. It was like one solid garment. It wasn't an arm sewed on here and an arm sewed on there. It was one big giant garment. So they said, well, let's not cut it up. Let's not destroy it. so we can all have a piece of it. Let's just go ahead and cast lots. Whoever wins gets the whole coat. So they cast their lots, and a winner got the coat. And that was all written before in the scriptures about what would happen. Because the scripture said, they parted my raiment among them. In other words, that's when they made the piles and separated his clothes. And for my vesture, they did cast lots. For his coat, they cast lots. They didn't cut it up. That's exactly what happened. Now they stood there by the cross of Jesus, his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. 4 women at the cross. And also the disciple whom Jesus loved. So when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved, which is John, according to what we read, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold your son. And then he said unto John, Behold your mother. In other words, I'm out of here. Woman, this will be your son now. And to his disciple, he said, Let this be your mother now. In other words, take care of my mother. And Mom, if you need anything, John will help you. Basically what he's saying. He's telling John, take care of my mother, and Mom, I'm leaving you in the hands of John. From that moment on, the disciple took her into his own home. Now, after this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. Now there was set a vessel of vinegar, so they put vinegar on a sponge, put it on a hyssop, and put it to his mouth. Again, that fulfills an older prophecy in scripture. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished. And he bowed his head, and he died. Now the Jews, because it was the preparation, or the preparation for the feast, didn't want the bodies to be hanging there on the Sabbath day. Because, who wants to go to Sabbath and look at a bunch of corpses hanging on the cross? It's like, that would spoil their day. So they saw Pilate, they said, look, why don't you break their legs? That way they'll die quicker and we can take them down before Sabbath. Basically what they're saying. So the soldiers came and they broke the legs of the first thief. They broke the legs of the other one. But when they came to Jesus, they was like, oh, well, he's already dead. So they didn't break his legs. But one of the soldiers grabbed a spear, pierced his side, basically making sure he was dead. And when they did, blood and water came pouring out. And it says, he that saw it bear record, John bears record, that this is true. And he knows it's true. And he's telling you this so you can believe. These things were all done that the scripture should be fulfilled. Again, another old prophecy being fulfilled, which said, a bone of him shall not be broken. They didn't break his legs. And another scripture said, they shall look upon him whom they pierced. They pierced his side with the spear. Again, fulfilling 2 prophecies about the Messiah. Now after this, Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews. So in other words, he followed Jesus, he believed in Jesus, but he kept it quiet because he didn't want the Jews coming after him too. So he asked Pilate, he said, look, can I have the body of Jesus? I have a grave nearby, fresh tomb, it's mine. I'd like to take him and bury him, give him a proper burial. So Pilate gave him leave. So he came and took the body of Jesus, and Nicodemus came with him. The one that came to Jesus also at night in secret, because he didn't want to get in trouble either from the Jews. The one that Jesus told about, ye must be born again. You know the story. Nicodemus came with him, and Joseph of Arimathea, and he took down Jesus, and, he brought him Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes and all the stuff, the perfumes and stuff that they wrapped the bodies with back then, the spices that they used. And they took the body of Jesus and they wound him in linen clothes with all the spices and the perfumes, which is the way they normally buried their dead. And they wrapped him in the linen and they laid him in the tomb. Now, the tomb, sepulcher, was close to where he was crucified. There was a garden right near there, and that's where the tomb was. And it also says it was a brand new tomb. No man had ever yet been laid in the tomb. See, back in the days, everyone couldn't afford tombs. There wasn't tombs and burial plots. And so a lot of times, a family would bury all their members in a tomb, in the same sepulcher. You know, you just add to it over the years. This one was a brand new one. No one had ever yet been laid there, buried there. So they want to make sure you know it was a brand new tomb. And that's where they took Jesus and they laid him there so that he could be taken care of and put away before the preparation day. So they figured at least we can get him buried as proper as we can with the little bit of time we got before we can't do anything because it's going to be Sabbath. And of course, they couldn't do any of this on the Sabbath. It goes against their law. So they got him buried as best they could. And that's basically where it leaves us in John chapter 19. So again, a lot of interesting things here. Pilate tries everything he can to let Jesus go. He keeps saying over and over, I got no fault in him. He's not doing anything wrong that I can see. He's not breaking any of our laws. But the Pharisees and Sadducees keep insisting and insisting. Look, he's claiming to be a king. That breaks your law. There's only one king, Caesar. They finally admit, like, Caesar's our king. We have no king but Caesar. Basically sealing their own fate, in my opinion. They've now denied not only Jesus, the Son of God, but the Father who sent him. They're not our king. Caesar's our king. Well, so be it. Also tells us about how he told Mary that John will now take care of her and told John to take care of his mother. Shows how he fulfilled many scriptures. The scriptures about his clothing being separated into piles, about his coat being cast lots for, scriptures about the vinegar, scriptures about just numerous scriptures that he fulfilled. Scriptures about a bone not being broken, about them looking upon the one whom they pierced, fulfilling lots and lots of scriptures about the Messiah. And it ends, like I said, where they take him to the sepulcher and lay him to rest. And that's where we leave off in chapter 19. So, I hope as always this study blesses you and strengthens you. Dog's going a little crazy. Don't forget to pray for the children, our fellow brothers and sisters all around the world. And for all those still stumbling around and lost in the darkness, so that they too could see the light. May our Father bless you. May he keep you. May his grace shine upon you. Give you peace. I'll see you next time.